Following President Trump's Davos address and today's EU pause on the U.S. trade deal, we're joined by geopolitical strategist and retired Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb, who served as a battalion commander and Black Hawk helicopter pilot in the U.S. Army as well. Good to have you with us today, Lieutenant Colonel Gobb. The president laid out plans to build a missile defense dome on Greenland, which he has had for some time. Why is that so important to him right now?
Well, there are many threats leveled against the United States, and one of those is, of course, the ability to reach us via intercontinental ballistic missiles. When you look at places like Iran, North Korea, China, and Russia, and China specifically has such a growing nuclear arsenal, the ability to advertise and demonstrate the effectiveness of a Golden Dome could sway some of those debates, because now we're well defended, and all Greenland does is extend the reach of such a type of a dome out further geographically from the mainland United States. And that could be a good thing. It's just the question of how we get there. There are other means to do it besides owning Greenland ourselves. We can work with NATO allies to do that, because frankly, if you get a dome like that that's big enough, we're defending them anyways. And either by making sure that we aren't impacted directly because we're such, the main force behind NATO, or actually being able, basically it's going to look kind of like NORAD, North American Aerospace Defense, but a whole lot bigger and covering a whole lot more ground.
And we are seeing a new mega embassy approved for China in London, and the Prime Minister is set to visit the regime's leader soon in Beijing. How do you see the European leaders' response to Trump at this point in time in the context of their other interests, such as in regards to China?
I think in some way what you're seeing is Europe showing its colors a little bit right now, regardless of who's in the White House. It's the fact that China is coddling up to many of the allies that we would say we have in Europe, and frankly, the trade deal they just are looking at with Canada right now is also not a good thing either. So China is continuing to try to reach into areas where America has historically had a significant amount of influence. And while Europe seems to be turning away from greater liberty and more towards authoritarianism and policing of its own people, it's natural that they would have a quasi-attraction to what China represents, not only in political ideology, but in their desire to continue to use their economics to grow and to dominate other regions of the world. So Europe constantly reaching out to someone like a China is not a good sign for what is actually happening on the ground, which is a turn towards less freedom.